Hey guys, Paul here. This is another video update for Void Destroyer 2. This time we're going to be talking about the very basic steps towards base capture. So one thing to keep in mind in terms of game development, marketing, things like that is things can be kind of misleading. You know, when you say like, "Hey, base capture is not possible," when a game developer says it, when a marketing company says it, or whatever, you can like imagine all sorts of awesome things where you own a base, you can walk around it, you can manage it, defend it, do all kinds of awesome stuff. So capturing a base, all that means is you take its side and you tell it, okay, now you're on the player side, and that's all it really means. So all that rest of the stuff has to be added, has to be worked on. It's not automatic. So some of those elements are in. Some of those awesome elements you might be imagining are in. Some of them are not in. Some of them are very basic. Some of them are very buggy. And that's what this video is going to talk about. It's also going to talk about future plans and things like that. So actually, yeah. So let's load up a saved game. Alrighty, here we are in space. Let's take a look at our fleet. So we have a Killer Joy, which is my main ship. This is a pirate fleet. This is a sort of like a mid-level fleet. It's pretty small, actually. It's not that big of a fleet, but we should be okay. This base we're attacking isn't well defended. We have also some vultures. We have 5 vultures, which are heavy fighters. We have the new little big joys, which have beam weapons on them. We have some rhinos, which are these smaller corvettes. And then here we have some capture ships. These are new capture ships, which I think I tossed in about a week ago. You can buy these at a pirate base or at the new black market bases. They don't have any weapons, but they have a crew of marines. If we hit object details, they have a boarding rating of 70. So that means they have about, well, this number doesn't really have to mean anything, but the way I like to think of it is that they have 70 Marines on board. So we have 70, 70, 70 in our little fleet. Our base here that we want to capture has a defense crew of 250, so not a lot of defenders. The civilian base is hostile to us because we got them all mad at us. So not a lot of base defenders right now, just to make this video kind of easy. And let's switch to ship mode. Hit time dilation. Now what we can do, a good tactic sometimes when you have, these guys don't have a great defensive force here. They have 4 heavy corvettes and they have 5 medium fighters. So because I'm not really too bothered here by these defenders, I'm gonna toss everything on search and destroy, and gonna try to issue some orders, make sure these guys are attacking these ships. These fighters want to attack this mining ship, but nah, that's a little goofy, right? Actually, so we're gonna clear their orders, clear target, and tell them, hey, attack these fighters, ignore this mining ship. Let's see, time dilation. Here's our capture ships. We can tell them to move in a little closer. We're back at the... Let's get a little closer. Looks like these corvettes are targeting us. So our ships better kind of sort of intercept them. We're not quite in range yet. There's our beam frigates. Oh, collision in space. Alright, now we can open up with our big gun, just to kind of show it. There's our big giant gun. Actually, let's just hit crew control here. Let's just watch the fun. There he goes. There's our cool little frigate firing, taking damage, dealing damage. These heavy frigates, yeah, looks like they're, yeah, it's a bit of a mess, a bit of a space fight mess here. There's our beam. There's our beam ships firing. And there's our capture ships going in. Looks like this guy is attacking us. We're taking some damage. How's our fighters doing? We still have all our fighters, so we really took those out pretty easily. There goes into the abyss. Alright, so at this point we're gonna tell these guys to go ahead and start capturing this base. So these capture ships are going to dock with the base, and then the crew of the base and us are going to do battle, essentially. We lost one of our vulture. Looks like it. Our little Big Joy is pretty damaged. So those four Anubis corvettes, they did quite a decent number at us. They weren't as pushover as I thought, but that's okay. We won the fight, and let's bring all our ships in closer. All right, so now this ship is gonna dock. Let's tell these other guys to dock also. When this ship docks, we're gonna see sort of this battle between the crew of this ship and the defense crew of the base, and in just a moment we'll see that. There it is. Okay, so if you look where the mouse is, there's 245 defenders and there's 66 invaders. Invaders are us, defenders are the base's crew. And if you look, the numbers kind of fluctuate, they go down, representing the battle between the defenders and the invaders. And another ship is going to dock, and probably like 3 ships docking will be enough. We can always like take manual control of this ship, dock ourselves. So if you had like, you know, if you wanted to just quickly ram versus avoiding defenders, things like that, you can do that. Avoid destroyer. Oh, looks like this guy didn't quite make it. Ugh. So that's okay. We can avoid him while he sets up for another run. He hit one of these walls, and we can just dock ourselves. And looks like we're attacking a mining ship over there. That's okay. Alright, so now we're at 172 defenders, this many invaders. This other ship is going to dock. This other guy is going to dock. And that should pretty much mean that we'll be able to capture this base. At this point, we don't have to go search and destroy anymore. We can go just engage. Alright. So now we have engage invaders. So this demonstration of capturing a base. So now we have. This is sort of like. I'll have to talk about this a little bit later. But this isn't exactly how I want it. You know, I don't want it to be quite this easy. Now maybe if you really weaken this base over some time, then fine. You know, it should be this easy to capture a base, kill a bit of defenders, and send some ships in. Now. Outnumber our defenders, so we're pretty sure to win at this point. Our invaders, but basically, this is just for the video purposes, just to show this sort of mechanic how you capture a base. Basically, you use capture ships. To dive in there. Yeah. So imagine some bases might start. Give them do not engage and hold. Some bases might start at like 1,000 defenders, and you might actually have to weaken the amount of defense crew ahead of time. There might be defensive platforms. Are we gonna win? I hope so. I hope so that the defenders are gonna die horribly here. Yeah, it looks like we're definitely winning. So yeah, so this is just for demo purposes, how to capture a base. I'll talk about that a little bit more, how I want it to be more of a sort of a siege, more of having a bit of more stages and things like that. But it looks like there we go, it's going to be our base. There we go. Base captured, civilian outpost 01. So that was the easy part. That was the part that took like a few hours of code. because a lot of this stuff was already in Void Destroyer. Um, so you can capture bases. This base is now yours. Now, what does that mean, right? That's a little more complicated. What it means for a base to be yours. First of all, you can always auto dock at your own base. Let's do that. Let's comms it. Let's say let's auto dock. And there we are. We are now in our base. Okay, so everything looks the same. Everything looks the same. Let's do a save game here in case there's issues or crashes. Base pirate fleet. There we go. Save the game. All right. So now there's a few changes now. So in the commerce tab, for example, there is this surplus cargo stuff here. And right now everything's at 0. Bases now, some bases produce resources. For example, a mining base will produce ore. This particular civilian food production base will produce food. Energy production base will produce energy. This particular base will produce anything. It just either consumes or retails it. So this is not a great example. But actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change these values. I'm going to hard code these. Alrighty, so I loaded up a saved game. Let's see what we have. So now in the commerce tab, this base now has a surplus of 8,000 units of energy, food, and ore. So while this base doesn't really produce anything, bases still trade, and trading will generate surpluses. So now basically the bottom line is that before, when trade happened in the overworld, either by the player or NPCs, the cargo just went nowhere. Right now it's being stored as a surplus, and eventually that's going to lead to a sort of a dynamic economy. So where the more cargo a base has, the less it's going to want it, the less it's going to pay for it. The less cargo it has, the more it's going to pay for it. So that's not in yet, but that's going to, you know, we're heading there. So the difference here is now if I have a transport ship, I'm not buying cargo from this base anymore. I'm taking from it because this is my base. So this is my cargo. So that's one of these changes. So if you capture a base and it already has cargo, that cargo is yours. So it's in a way you're sort of, you know, you have sort of a reward for capturing a base. So now this hired transport that I just hired has 2,000 units of cargo, and transferring to, I'm not selling it, I'm transferring it to back to my base. So that's one change. So there's now a sort of a inventory system in bases of cargo, and if you own that base, it's free to you. And also bases will now produce and consume resources. So a mining base will actually produce ore. And if it sells it, then you get credits for that. So base is actually okay. So now we have this base management screen here. It's enabled, and it's really bare. Okay, this is just stuff that I'm working on. What happens is I kind of want to get this update out today for various reasons. One of them is that, you know, holidays are coming up, and it's sort of like a busy time, and this is sort of a big update. So instead of like doing it for months without an update, which has its issues during early access, I'm just going to toss this section out and just kind of like deal with the issues and bugs and things like that, and things that are lacking, and just kind of update it every day as I usually do versus waiting weeks, you know, like I've kind of waited for this. But anyway, this base management screen, now when you own a base, this base management screen becomes available, and you can give credits to a base. You can take credits from a base if it happens. Bases that have a surplus that consume resources will actually generate credits for you. Or if you want, you can convert energy into credits via this button here. So here I have 6,000 of energy. Excuse me. If I click this button, I converted that 6,000 into 28,000 credits, and then of course I can take those credits. So in a way, bases can generate income for you via trade, via production of resources, via consuming those, or if you want to quickly dump them, you'll click these buttons, and now you have about 75,000 worth of credits. You can take them, right? As you can see, this is the defensive crew this base has. Those are the remaining invaders that we saw, our guys, and this number will go up as long as this base has money. So we'll give it some money here. We have a ton of credits here. I just sort of gave myself a ton of credits to demonstrate. So I'm going to give this a bunch of money here, and now this defense crew will go up. So it'll be harder for other bases or pirates or whoever to capture this base from me. Now, bases capturing your bases are not in. That's going to be something that's going to be worked at, so you do have a reason to defend a base. Not just going to be yours forever unless you defend it really well. That's not in yet. That's why I said it's early stages of sort of base ownership, base capture. This aspect of the game is going to be huge. It's going to be like 1/3 of the game essentially. Kind of in my mind at this point, things can change, but kind of the way I see it, you'll probably spend 1/3 of the game time owning bases, capturing them, defending, things like that. That's the goal anyway. So this is really bare right now. I'm not really even sure exactly what's going to be in here. So we'll work on that. You can also rename your own base. We'll call it the first victory base, right? Great. So now this base has credits. So what we'll actually do is it'll actually buy defensive ships on its own via these credits. That's the other aspect that needs to be worked on. So here purchase ship. Even though I have 0 mission rank with civilians here, I could buy this Hades. But what's going to probably happen is instead of buying this ship, I'll be able to build them with resources and some credits. So that's not in yet, but that's going to be sort of worked on. But either way, like, the mission restrictions don't exist anymore, which is pretty cool. So if you capture a military base, you can buy all their military ships. So at least there's that. It's not all sort of doom and gloom. And now in the hangar, if you remember, if you were with Void Destroyer 2 really early, the base hangar used to just be ships in a hangar, and then I added these fleet ships. Well, now that there's base, there's also this base defense ships section. So here I could say, alright, Rhino, you're going to be converted to a base defense ship, and this Rhino also base defense ship. So then here, this Rhino is a base defense ship. Actually, let's just repair all these guys up. Make sure they're all healthy. So now I have 2 Rhinos defending this base. My fleet is just kind of normal like that. So again, there's a lot of stuff to this, and these are just the first basic steps. Let's sort of see what happens when we leave this base. Okay, so there's some enemies here. Is it that unfortunate? There's some bounty hunting ships here. Yeah, they shouldn't really last too long because there's just a few fighters here, so you don't have to worry. So while killing civilians, killing that civilian defensive fleet, we pissed off the bounty hunters. So there's a lot of things to consider here for the player. What's going to happen if the player captures a civilian base? Like, should they be permanent enemies to the civilians? Will civilian trading ships come in? Like, what's going to happen? So there's a lot of stuff to be thought about. In fact, a lot of the things sort of taking so long is just me thinking about stuff. Like, how should it work? How should these guys respond? How should this happen? Because we have a we now have a wanted level of 13 because apparently we killed like 13 ships during this base capture. So we killed quite a lot of people over 10 minutes. So the military bounty hunters are going to be coming after us for this. There's no really good way of reducing this besides waiting this out. So we'll have to see about that. So here's our base. As you can see, it's our color, and it looks like either there's a bug or this doesn't update because it's still called Civilian Outpost 01. Okay, here it's called First Victory, which is good, but it looks like there's a bug with this mouse over. I'll have to fix. But now it's our base. Has 3 defense ships. If you remember, I gave it 2, but now it already bought another ship. It also has now 28 defense crew, so it increased. So it consumed money, but it gained defense crew and defense ships. And if I wait a little longer, like defensive ships will start popping in here. If I just sort of kind of fly around without time compression on. So yeah, some elements are in, some elements need to be worked on. There's sort of this variety of things. This guy is still kind of going into it. You know, like there should be like civilian ships, other type of ships still kind of trading with us, and we shouldn't like kill them right away. You know, civilians should be sort of like just some Joe Schmo that wants to make money. So we'll have to kind of sort of control that, figure that out. So now you have 9 defensive ships and 88 defense crew. So let's actually check back in with our base here just to demonstrate that. Go back to ship mode. Of course, we're just going to horribly slaughter these poor civilians here. So let's take a look. So now we have 3 gunships, and looks like, how many pugs do we have? We have 5 heavy fighters. They're going to kill this poor Leo here. So, and of course, this base should have less credits now that it bought these. And it will just kind of keep buying ships. So not only can player bases do this, but also non-player bases can do this. So if we dock, auto dock. There we go. Let's take a look at this hangar. And now these are our defensive ships here. So we bought quite a lot more. And we spent some money here. We have defense crew of 98. So as long as you have money, your defense crew will go up. And if you can afford the ships, the bases will buy the ships. So basically, if you're going to try to capture a base, you're going to need to cripple its economy. You're going to need to have it like not very much money. So actually, defense crew will then go down, and after you kill their defensive ships, they won't come back. So that's sort of in the game right now, but it's not sort of well tested. That's kind of the aspect that I'll be working on. So again, there might be some things that you kind of expect to work as you play and as you test, and they might not work. There might be some things I didn't think about. Like, for example, what about missions? You know, like right now there's 0 missions here because this base is mine. It's not a civilian base, so it doesn't give you civilian missions anymore. So that's stuff to think about. You know, what am I going to do about that? How much control am I going to give you over the economy here? I'll probably give you a button here that says, you know, spend money on defense crews, auto buy defensive ships, on off, things like that, you know, to give you control over this. Maybe it's a base far away that you don't care about. Maybe you don't want to spend money on it, or maybe you have enough ships you want to manage it by yourself via this sort of hangar interface here. You know, you can go and you can say, all right, you know, now you're a base defense ship, you too. So you can manually manage the base defense ships yourself instead of having the base buy it. So yeah, a lot of work's left to do. What else do we have that we want to talk about? Yeah, it's kind of even hard to talk about, but basically there's this sort of beginning of this behind the scenes economy and this sort of beginning of being able to do sieges. So maybe I should just talk about that. Let me hop into another save file. Let's see. What should I do? I just want a really basic one where nothing's really, where nobody really hates me. Nobody wants to really kill me. So just fly around on it. There we go. Let's get into overworld mode. There we go. All right. So I'm just in a lowly hornet. Really, nothing's happening. So here we have a transport ship with 100% energy pod. So this transport ship is going to a base over there. Let's see, what base is that? Looks like it's probably a smuggler, and it's selling its base to selling its ore to a pirate base. But when it does this, when it sells this ore, this base gets money. And when this base gets money, then it can buy defenders. And looks like we have a mining ship here. This mining ship is going to this asteroid field over there, which I didn't discover yet in this save file. And when this mining ship goes over there and then sells the ore, this base also gets money. So some of the money that this base generates is external, and some of it is going to be internal. So anytime something is external, the player has a bit of control over it. So this ship right here that goes to mine, if I go ahead and kill this ship, then I weaken this base. So that's kind of what I'm trying to accomplish via this sort of siege multi-stage mechanic. You know, at some point this base is going to be pretty wealthy. It's going to have a bunch of defensive ships, including frigates. You know, I had a sort of kind of difficult time with the heavy corvettes. I could have brought a bigger fleet, but if I didn't have a bigger fleet, I could just sort of weaken them, pick them apart, and if I sort of create a blockade of killing transport ships, kind of killing their economy, of going in and picking off their defensive ships, so then they can't afford to pay their defenders as much. I can sort of do a multi-stage sort of a siege. You know, first take out the defenders. Second step, do a blockade, or do a blockade while I'm taking out their defenders, and then go in and mop up that kind of a thing, and easily capture that base like we saw we do. So there's this sort of economy now where bases generate credits. They spend those credits on defense, both internal and external, and you can kind of manipulate that via intercepting these ships if I was hostile to them, if that's what I wanted. And there's a variety of ways that bases make money. For example, bounty hunting bases make money if they're ships. Here's a bounty hunting ship. If this guy goes and kills a pirate, then their base gets money for that. If what else? If you as the player do a mission for a base, the base also gets a portion of that money too. So you as the player, when you sort of buy and sell resources, when you do missions, when you repair your ships, you generate money for these bases. So you can kind of help a base, or you can hurt it if you want a base to have more and more ships. So actually what we had before was, for example, this base has a frigate, has a Hades also, which would make it a bit tougher of a fight to capture. What we had before with base capture missions, if you remember base capture missions, some of these ships might have been destroyed. They would actually never come back, which was a pretty bad thing, because eventually you would have like 0 defensive ships. Now these ships will come back as this base makes money. So this base, for example, produces food. This is the meter. Let's kind of get close to it. These sort of pods here are supposed to be sort of agricultural pods. So let's take a look. Let's dock with this base. Let's dock with this base and see if it produced resources yet. Commerce. So it's got a surplus of 2,586 of food. This base produces food. Um, so you would imagine that food actually was going to get cheaper here. So that's going to be worked on a little bit. And when it sells this food, it's actually going to generate income. That kind of stuff, which still has to be worked on. So as it generates food, as it consumes these other resources, that will generate money. And at that point, you can't manage this base because it's not my base. I can't go into its defensive ships. Well, actually, I can. Oh, what was that? Looks like that's a bug. I just have to work that out because it seems like it popped up there. So there's some bugs still left over. What was I saying? Yeah. So as this sort of economy is behind the scenes, these bases will go. So this economy really needs testing, both from you guys and from me, to make sure that this base actually generates money in normal circumstances and generates a lot of money in normal circumstances. Because some of these ships are really expensive. Like buying this is 325,000 credits to buy this defensive ship if it wants another frigate to defend it, or fighters or things like that. So this will have to be tested, worked on, and things like that. I think this update is really long. Hopefully you guys stuck around most of it. I guess I have to cut it short. So yeah, really basic steps in base capture. Keep in mind, you can actually break the game if you capture all the bases. I think the game will just become super boring. So kind of keep that in mind. You might want to like hold off on that. I know some of you guys like, I'm really happy how much you guys enjoy the game. And some of you guys have just mega fleets, so you can actually probably right now just like capture all these bases with all the ships you guys have because you guys have so much money. But keep in mind, if you do that, it might actually become a boring game, because you guys sort of had that sort of time to play it and mess with the economy. So yeah, we're gonna keep on working at it, keep on improving the game, keep on adding to these features. Hopefully we'll make a really strong aspect of this where you guys will really enjoy this sort of conquest aspect. First you guys were this little fighter, then you guys got a fleet, then you guys might have captured some ships, expanded your fleet, and then you guys might get a bunch of trading mining ships, have a bigger economy, and then finally own your own base. And that comes with a lot of questions, a lot of work in terms of me trying to figure things out. You guys offering suggestions, giving feedback, that's always really appreciated. Then we'll create sort of this dynamic economy to make trading a little bit more interesting. This base has a ton of resources. We'll make it sell food for less, so you can kind of take advantage of that. But if there's a ton of ships buying up this food, then food prices will go up, that kind of thing. Yeah. I think we got a lot of cool potential with this. Other aspect I want to work on is probably with my artist. We'll punch out a bunch of platforms. So not only will you be able to have defensive ships, but also defensive platforms. That's not in yet. That'll be worked on. Bases will buy them on their own, or you can build them for a base. You can place them. You will be able to, just put it that way. Plus, you'll be able to put like producing platforms, like generating food, energy. So some of the economy will also be internal. So as a player, you might come into a base, you might kill their energy producing platform outside of it, thus weakening it so that has less defensive crew, less defensive ships. Or if you capture that base, you have that base, or you have that platform already generating you money. Alright guys, yeah, I'm gonna cut it here. If you have any questions, if any feedback, concerns, bugs, there's probably going to be a fair amount of them. Definitely let me know on the forums, as you guys have been doing. Thank you very much for supporting the project. You guys have been great. It's been a really good year. I think 2016, every year that kind of ends that I work on my own games, 2015, 2016, I kind of think like, man, this was the best year of my life. And that's in a huge part to you guys, about you guys supporting the project. I wouldn't be able to be at home right now working on this game, making this video for you guys, talking about the updates. Um, Also, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. You know, whatever holiday I might not be aware of. I hope you have a great time with however you spend it. Definitely try to get some break, some rest. You know, there's a lot of distractions going on, so you might want to think about like, hey, taking advantage of them, giving yourself a break, enjoying the end of the year, and hoping for even better next year, right? So yeah, thank you for your support once again. Have a great day. Have a great New Year, and I'll talk to you guys later.